Am I the butthole for refusing to miss my brother's wedding because my work can't find coverage for those days? My brother is getting married next week. He got engaged in February and told me maybe a month ago that he is getting married on May 19th. He and my sister-in-law aren't into traditional big weddings. My brother lives in our hometown in the Midwest, and I live in the Southwest. I told my work almost immediately about my brother's wedding, and wrote it down on a piece of paper. I also was instructed to tell the lead float tech, it's a pharmacy, so she could try to find a floater to cover me while I'm gone. I sent a reminder last Friday to this lead float tech about the days I would be gone, and I didn't get a reply until yesterday that she couldn't find anyone, almost with the impression that I wasn't allowed to go to my brother's wedding. I texted my boss immediately about this. I get that they're going to be short-handed. I'll mention here that the lead float tech is an astronomical bitch, to the point where literally everyone who works with her hates her guts, except for the district manager, who she is besties with. But I've also gotten the impression from the rest of the staff that I'm being selfish, that I want to go home for a few days. To see my brother get married? Look, in 20 years, I won't give a crap about this job. I'm in grad school to gain a teaching credential, so not my final destination in my career, but I will give a crap about having missed my brother's wedding. I don't intend on missing it, and I think it's rather ridiculous to ask someone to miss a close family member's wedding because you're shorthanded on technicians, especially when I gave plenty of notice in regard to non-paid time off. Am I the butthole? Update: today was awful and humiliating. My boss basically told me she tried to accommodate me, but that the days she couldn't would be considered unexcused absences. Also, I'm to apologize to a pharmacist because I made an offhanded negative comment about Trump, I guess. I nearly started crying, and almost left. I got through the shift. Not the butthole, but what does your contract say? 1 month notice is fine? Honestly, you wouldn't be the butthole in my opinion anyway. This is your brother's big day, so I'm glad you have this thought in your heart. Why quit though? Original poster hasn't gotten an answer from his or her boss, and it's unclear what the relationship is between the lead and his or her management chain. Also, many businesses are struggling to hire, let alone already trained employees. So there are two things: text or email the actual boss as per discussion 1 month ago, confirming I will be out of town, blah. If that generates pushback, text or email. Dear boss, we're not discussing if I'm going to my brother's wedding, we're discussing if I still work here when I come back. Let me know by date if you want me to come in again, or if I can extend my time with family. Point number 2 is such a power move. I am keeping this for the next time I have an argument in my shower. I am keeping this for the next time I have an argument in my shower. I love your clear-eyed grasp of all the many possible futures and the way they all reunite in the shower after the fact. I am going to become a lawyer at my own law firm, which essentially means I'll never have any boss. So I can only ever use such a line in my fantasy arguments. Everyone who has income from a job has a boss. It's completely circular. In your case, the boss is your client. The only way to not have a boss is to have completely passive income, have a big enough lottery win that you are satisfied with only that and whatever savings you have for the rest of your life, or make a boatload of money and retire early. Also, as a lawyer, or any other self-employed individual, I can guarantee you that one day, someday a client is going to fire you. Even so, it's different from having a boss in a strict sense. A client won't decide my work hours, my holidays, my modus operandi, or micromanage how I handle a case. Plus, I can decide whether to take a client or not. That's more than I can ask for. And you can fire your client if he is in butthole. That's why I love working for myself. Ha 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 ha. Phew. Sorry. Wait. Ha 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 ha. I used to own my own business doing web design. I had to laugh reading your comment because I had a couple of clients that basically did exactly this kind of stuff. And when they pay really well, it's kind of hard to fire them. At the end of the day, one client was so bad and I got so stressed that I closed my business. Went to work for my landlord as a construction supervisor. Still work for him 6 years later. As a lawyer at my own law firm, I can confirm I have more bosses now than ever. Clients, courts, deadlines, regulatory bodies, bills, etc. But the money is a good offset to the stresses if you can keep good support staff that clears your desk of grunt work so you can focus on the more cerebral and enjoyable parts of the job. Which I cannot because I started a law firm 3 months before a once-in-a-century pandemic. Law license comes with a free psychologist though. I'd wager it would work too. Gives the bosses the realization that you aren't as dependent on them as they are of you. I literally did this when I worked at Walmart. Before I was even hired, I told them that in April of the next year I would be taking 2 weeks off for an already paid-for trip to Disneyland. I reminded my many different managers every single month, twice a month in the 9 months leading up to this. We weren't allowed to put in time off requests officially until 2 weeks before the time off was going to take place, but I kept reminding them. Then when the time came on told me vacation was not going to approved. So I said okay. Consider my 2 weeks notice. He looked like I just smacked him across the face. I did not lose my job, but I never once got a promotion. That is absolutely crazy to me. I'm in the UK, so different here, but you can only request time off 2 weeks beforehand? That's madness. Literally I have half of my annual leave for next year booked and approved. That's a weird policy even in the US. Most companies with any policy like that have a minimum time before that you have to ask, so like at least a month before. It's not a company policy. Walmart allows you to request time off starting a year out, and that's not even really policy, that's just early as the computer system lets you put it in. That sounds like a store policy designed to make it easier for that management to say no. Sometimes it doesn't work. I told my work a year in advance I'd need 2 weeks off during our busy season to be Mo and my best friend's wedding in South Africa. Once I finalized my dates about 8 months in advance, I got told I wasn't allowed to take time off during that time period. So I said fine, my last day will be 2 days before the trip. They never really backed down, but I wasn't going to either. I was able to do that once. I was doing contract work and assigned to a project whose presentation was scheduled for my uncle's wedding. I emailed my supervisor, who replied that I'd have to choose between the project and the wedding. Basically, I'd get fired if I went to the wedding. I replied looping in the project manager apologizing that I'd have to pull out of the project for this reason. He immediately responded, let's see what we can do. I could help out with the project, and they could find someone else to present it. It was such a good feeling to know that, 1. I was valued enough by the project manager that he was willing to overrule my supervisor / bring me on without having me present, and, 2, the supervisor was finally called out for being such a butt. She had a tendency to catastrophize. This was just one example, but made me realize it wasn't normal or okay to put work first in every situation. She was great in other ways though. You can be shorthanded on May 19th, or you can be shorthanded on May 19th and every day after that. The choice is yours. I said the second thing to my boss almost word for word at one point. I had gotten accepted to grad school and had gotten funding through the university for grad school. My company had a program where you could go on an academic leave of absence, but it needed to be approved by your manager. When I talked to my manager about it, he said, I don't know if I can let you go, we're going to be pretty busy in the next year. I frankly told him I wasn't asking his permission to go to grad school, I was only asking for his permission to come back afterwards. And why quit though? I read the comment. His original poster gave their boss 1 month's notice of when they were unavailable, not 1 month's notice of them quitting. He got engaged in February and told me maybe a month ago that he is getting married on May 19th. Ah, you're right. Honestly, most of the industries struggling to find employees are the ones that pay like crap. Every other industry, at least where I am, is demanding an advanced degree and 3 years of experience for entry-level jobs. Clearly they're not struggling to find employees, or they'd lower their standards. Maybe those industries should pay more if they want more workers. I love this. Contract? If original poster is from the US, a pharmacy tech is unlikely to have one. The US is wild. Wow, I couldn't imagine working without a contract. Majority of the US is in at will. So no contracts. Which is bad but good, i.e. you can quit anytime you want. But bad because the job can fire you as long as it's not against the law for protected classes or medical reasons at times. Something like this, he should just tell them he's not coming in and take the hit or apply if he has a PTO. Fun fact, in Utah it's perfectly legal to be fired for having suffered a workplace injury as a result of your direct manager's negligence. US labor laws are seriously effed up. As someone who has worked in 2 countries with strong labor protection, the UK and South Africa, I would never consider working in the USA. As someone who was born in the US, I didn't really get the option to never work here. Right? These people make it sound like we have a choice in the matter. Absolutely not the butthole. If they're going to suffer that much from you being gone a day or 2, then they are heavily understaffed and it is on them. That's the bottom line. If they can't do without you there for a couple of days, they need to look at staffing levels. Yup. Restaurant I used to manage, the owner refused to let me hire new staff, so I could train one of our current staff to do his/my duties. His tune changed real quick when I went on holidays for a month, and he was forced to be there 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, because nobody else could do the books, ordering, bill mods, emergency supplies runs and such. If losing one person puts you so understaffed that you are drowning, then you already were. This is so common in any kind of service industry, minimal staff to save overheads. I worked several years in a high street shop that operates a basically skeleton staff model, in the UK, so better employment rights than US, and trying to get time off or flexibility for any kind of life stuff was like pulling teeth. I went 4 years without taking a sick day. A situation quite similar to original poster was when I had a 3-hour final exam for uni scheduled at 1 p.m. on a Saturday. Gave the notice as soon as I found out, and the managers kept trying to strong-arm me like I could do anything about it. First it was that they couldn't authorize holiday during a summer month, so I said fine, it will have to be an unpaid authorized absence then. But they kept trying to push and push, saying they couldn't get cover, asking that I do a half day from 7 a.m. etc. Until I just had to say this is a big exam I have no control over. I won't be working that day, I don't care if it's paid or unpaid or if I technically end up with a mark against my name for it. I was known as one of their most reliable part-timers, and it absolutely boiled my blood that there was such epic pushback when I needed an ounce of flexibility on their end. These places almost exclusively hire young people because by and large they're easier to deal with for shift work and unsocial hour patterns, but lose their minds over some of the realities that come with having young staff. Not the butthole. You gave plenty notice, and sent a reminder. This is a big day for your brother and it's important you go. My brother passed a few years ago, and let me tell you I regret every event I missed due to working. That shift is not worth it. Go to the wedding. Not the butthole. But you should document this. Follow up with an email/text about how you gave a month notice on X date and why no one notified you that no one could cover your shift. You reached out with a reminder the week before and only now have you gotten a reply. Ask her when was she planning to let you know and why she only responded 3 days before the flight. Point out the airplane tickets are already bought and non-refundable, as people buy tickets at least weeks in advance. Save her replies, and excuses, for when you have to escalate. This is a very smart move. Always get it in writing/document your side. Not the butthole. Employers love to think they can do what they want because the employee will do their bidding or no job. Guess that's why so many places can't find employees these days, because people realize why should they kill themselves for someone who doesn't care about them. The consequence of you going might be you won't have a job, but if that's the case then consider yourself lucky not to be trapped in a job that can't give you a bit of time off. Go enjoy the wedding. Then consider yourself lucky not to be trapped in a job that can't give you a bit of time off. Especially since the original poster gave them a whole month's notice for that bit of time off. Guess that's why so many places can't find employees these days, because people realize why should they kill themselves for someone who doesn't care about them. Bingo. The consequence of you going might be you won't have a job, but if that's the case then consider yourself lucky not to be trapped in a job that can't give you a bit of time off. Isn't it funny how they are so short-staffed that original poster just can't take 1 day off, but they are not short-staffed enough to have original poster gone with no replacement? Not the butthole. No job is worth missing huge moments with family. It's a job. They're the buttholes for even suggesting you can't take off, to be honest. Not the butthole. I bet my right nut that Ms. Lead Float Tech didn't even try to cover for you. A month is plenty of notice. If you can live with possible employment issues, You should feel no guilt about ditching work to see your brother get married. Tell me you are American without telling me you are immersion. Not the butthole. This post and the comments are so depressing. I can't imagine having to choose between going to my brother's wedding or getting in trouble at work because of incompetent management and wondering whether I'm the butthole. All the comments telling him he's lucky that he doesn't have to give a heads up 6 weeks in advance are awful. Not the butthole. And a piece of advice: if a place is so short-staffed that they will struggle with one person gone for a few days, odds are pretty decent they won't penalize you over this, because they literally can't afford to. Not the butthole. Go to your brother's wedding. So often workers are taught that if they miss one day of work, the whole planet will stop working, and that just isn't the case. They've known for a month that you were going to be gone. Go and have fun. The worst is you lose your job, and my guess is if you have the certificate for being a pharmacy tech, you can land another job within days, and my guess is at a higher rate. You asked for a few days off 3 months in advance. If they can't go without you for that long, it's their own fault for not having proper staffing. You're not selfish, rather a lot of companies like to paint employees who ask for reasonable requests as not being a team player. If you're not invested in this job, consider sending out resumes before you leave, but you should absolutely go. Not the butthole. Not the butthole. A month is plenty of notice for most industries. Not the butthole, and it sounds like you're coming down with something that will have you sick the 17th, 20th. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.